Welcome back to the Reach Your 2 Point podcast. I'm Roy Atkinson, your gracious host. And this evening it's evening for me, with Katrina Macdermid, all the way from Australia. And thank you for joining, Katrina. She is an entrepreneur, award-winning author, recognized as the leading global expert in IT service management. That's our world, and that's how we know each other. And she has come up with the idea of humanizing IT. And she's got a great book about it. It sells out at every conference that she speaks out. And her sessions usually are standing room only. And it's really generated unprecedented interest in the community. And what humanizing IT talks about, and Katrina will tell you more, is human-centered design principles in the world of IT service management. So let's talk about that, Katrina. Welcome.
Thank you, Roy. And I'll start off with saying you're more than gracious. You are well respected yourself. And on behalf of our community, thank you for everything you've done throughout the years to make IT service management better. Thank you.
One tries.
We do.
So, as you know, the dew point is that point at which you decide to leave the diving board and head into the pool or whatever it is that you're going to do. So tell me a little bit about what got you started in the human-centered design aspects of IT and how that got rolling for you.
Sure. So my background, as you know, is in IT service management and ITIL, I should say. As you know, I'm an ITIL master, the older scheme, and also contributing author of ITIL 4. So I was very, very heavily engulfed and ingrained in the world of IT service management. And by coincidence, I started studying human-centered design, and I'd never heard of it, and most people in IT still don't know what it is. And I find it fascinating because I often say that our frameworks we all know, as I said, I'm familiar with, like ITIL and DevOps per se, Agile, whatever, human-centered design is just as big. And so we have these two huge communities that don't actually know each other. And essentially they aim for the same things. So whilst I was studying human-centered design, I thought, my gosh, why don't we do this in IT service management? And hence I started writing a manuscript. And as you said, I wrote a book called Human-Centered Design for IT Service Management. And it's evolved. I mean, the book was probably published over 2 years ago, and it has evolved a lot since then, our concept and our framework of what humanizing IT is. And for the listeners that aren't aware of what human-centered design is, I'm assuming listeners know what IT service management is, Roy, so I'll skip that. But human-centered design is a framework. It's a structured framework, as frameworks we have in IT service management, and it's a problem-solving approach to complex problems steeped in empathy and thinking about people. And one thing I love about human-centered design is the first thing we do is throw away everything we know, everything we think is right, throw away our assumptions, and we start designing and researching with that mindset. So zero assumptions. So basically, humanizing IT, as you said, integrates human-centered design into IT service management. And we have a framework called the HIT Global Double Diamond Framework that is part of now our training and consulting approach. So that's a long-winded answer.
And HIT, of course, stands for humanizing IT.
IT, that's correct, humanizing IT.
Just because I was born and raised in New Jersey, and people from New Jersey might get the wrong idea of what they mean by HIT.
Okay, well.
You got a problem with IT? Is that what you're telling me here?
I might use that line. Hit it.
So I often thought of a New Jersey framework for service management. It would be a little bit different, I think.
Yeah.
Would be called, you got a problem with that? So once you started down the path, and I've seen you, I mean, you have been on a whirlwind for the last couple of years. I, see the posts on LinkedIn and the other social media, and also we cross paths at conferences and so on. So you've really been a very busy woman for the last couple of years, and you have people that work with you, and you've been able to entangle yourself or ally yourself with other organizations. So tell me a little bit more about how that's going from your perspective and how the momentum feels.
Really great. And I guess I should have said earlier, Roy, is that why did I create Humanising IT? Because I think IT service management, as we know it today, is fundamentally broken. And I actually, it's frustrating because we do a lot of consulting through our framework. And people often tell me, oh, Kat, I'm a bit embarrassed. We don't have knowledge management. We don't have a CMDB. Users are still calling the service desk. And I always say, don't think you're special because most IT organizations still have the same issues. And we are now in 2025. And um, it's frustrating, it's upsetting, it's so many things. It's like it's broken and we need to change how we do it. And quite often we're engaged when there's a transformation. So we have a new CIO or a new leader and they want to transform. And I always say, what makes you think you're going to be successful from your predecessor and their predecessor and their predecessor? Because I'm telling you now, if you follow the same route, it ain't going to work. And so human-centered design is a proven framework that's really good at solving complex problems. And IT service management is complex. So why don't we use it and start with that approach versus how do we usually start a transformation, Roy? You tell me.
We get some people in, and then we do some stuff, and then we throw organizational change management in at the last possible second, right?
Yeah,
That's the way it usually
yeah,
works.
yes, and we also pick up what we know. We've certainly before I knew that human-centered design, I had my way. I had all my processes and my project plan. This is how you do it. And of course, it never really, ever really worked. And I also think, yes, with organizational change management, I'm going to be a bit controversial or thought provoking. I think the issue that we have in IT service management with organizational change management is the people that are doing the change don't understand what's being changed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, and it's not no disrespect to change management, I think it's absolutely imperative we need it. But I also think the involvement of IT people to educate the complexity. I also use another example is a lot of organizations are now using human-centered designers to put into IT. Fantastic. And what these human-centered designers do, in my experience, is they will start, for example, with the portal, and they might create a really good UX experience, which is great because most instances of any software, doesn't matter what it is terrible. So this is great. So we've got that first point of contact that it's nice and user friendly. That's probably done from a designer point of view. But what they don't understand is the back end. So when that ticket gets submitted, it's complex. And this is the thing that there's this big disconnect about what we see and what organizational change people do and human-centered designers think towards, we've got legacy contracts, we've got integrations that don't work, we're still doing swivel chairing, we've got something outsourced, something's not, it's just this complexity that designers and organizational change, I don't think go deep enough. And I think that's where we kind of fall over in part of transformations. And what Humanising IT does, and as you said, we do training, we want to teach these wonderful people in IT that know the complexity, we want to teach them design thinking. So they're tasked with that. And especially today where we all want new skills and, we all know where AI is going, we do need new skills. So that's what we teach IT professionals experience. And how do you make incident management more experience focused with the complexity behind it? And it's not just the portal logging a ticket. That's much more than incident management, as you know.
Yes, indeed. It is. Well, my approach has always been to get experience as one of the prime movers and to incorporate a lot of training as you go, as you solve problems, as you approach difficulties, to help train internally within IT and externally for the end users or service consumers, whatever you want to call them, so that they understand better what's going on. And it's not that they're, the old traditional, the way back view was, oh, they're just users. They don't know anything. It's certainly not that. They know their jobs better than you ever will. I think we ignored that for a long time. But it's that they don't understand a lot of what we do. And so to communicate that better is certainly a fundamental thing for us, I think. I think so many of the problems that occur within organizations revolve around communication issues. People on one side either don't know how to express what they're trying to say or don't understand what they're trying to say. And the people on the other side are hearing blah, 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 and not really getting it.
Yeah,
What,
and that's right, Roy. And if I may, we're actually soon to be released Humanising AI, which expands on our Humanising IT. And the first activity we do in the HIT Double Diamond is what we call the RIP, and that's called Recognising the Initial Problem or Pain, RIP. And we have how to do the RIP and literally get stakeholders in the room, business, IT, process owners, vendors, executives, leadership, and ask them, what do you think the problem is or the pain? And write it on a whiteboard or categorize it. And it's amazing because you will get very different opinions on what people think the problem is. So for AI, when we do a RIP, I say, what do you think AI is going to do? Why are you getting it? What problem is it going to solve? And again, you have different perspectives. So this is one of the first things we do wrong for an initiative or a transformation or whatever we call it, is what is the perceived problem? Then what we do is assumptions analysis. And so what are we assuming? And I'll give you a very good example. And again, I'll be a bit controversial. We assume that if the user, and it's an old example, but a good one because people are still using it, that we should contact the user 3 times before closing a ticket.
mm-hmm.
We assume that the user should respond. We assume we are following best practice, and that is all assumptions. We assume if we do knowledge articles, that's going to reduce tickets. And all these assumptions based on what you and I and most of everyone listening, Roy, has grown up and believed in for decades. Is it actually correct? And I don't think it is, because I did a webinar the other day, actually, a very large company for over 200 people. And I won't mention them, but they're doing 3-ticket closure. And I was fortunate to have a lovely man, the head of a very senior man. And I said to him, I'm either going to be very stupid or very brave, but I'm going to challenge you. And he said, but we've automated that. I said, and he said, well, people were responding to them. And I said, so how many emails do you get a day? And would you reply to an email from an IT? No. So again, you're going into AI already with an erroneous assumption. So, and that's what we said at the beginning. The beauty about human-centered design is throw away everything you've done, because, as I said, if I hear the word one more time, Roy, that we want to innovate, that's not innovating. You're following. I mean, what's innovating if you're doing the same thing? You maybe get a new tool. That's still not innovating. And I often say innovation is not having a service desk. That's true innovation, and that's what human-centered design would tell you. We assume, Roy, that we should go to level 1. We assume that the service desk is the best single point of contact. All these assumptions, and off we go down the path of what we think. And so when we do our training and consulting, we actually really challenge. We do the divergent thinking, and actually get an amazing results very early and very quickly.
And I'm sure that part of what you're seeing and part of what happens when you do these assessments and exercises as you begin is that the differences between organizations become much more apparent.
Yep.
Right? The structure of the organization, the intents of the organization, the risk tolerance, all of that becomes much more apparent. And as we know for sure, for years people have been rather reluctant to do that old thing they call adapt. Right? They've taken the framework as an ideology. They've put things into practice. They open the book up and says, here's what it says, we'll do that, instead of thinking about how their organization works, what their culture is like. And that's part of what you're approaching, right?
Yes, and I hear and agree with what you're saying with some caveats, is that I don't, it's like saying to someone, here's the rules to drive, but adapt it. How do I adapt it? Like, so it's kind of like, so what I say to people, that if you're doing an initiative or an improvement transformation, or you want to adapt, fantastic. And I do agree. I do agree. But how are you doing it? How are you doing your innovation? How are you doing your improvement? How are you adapting? You need a framework to tell you how to do that. And that's where we come in with human-centered design.
Watch for part 2 of my interview with Katrina Macdermid, coming soon on Reach Your Dew Point.